RIMURU Go Back in Time by Rimu-chi. Meeting 1. In Tempest. The central meeting room of Tempest's palace buzzed with an air of seriousness. At the head of the table sat RIMURU Tempest, calm yet commanding, surrounded by his fiancées, Shizu, Rain, Kaguli, Mayoran, Soka, Shion, Shuna, Goblina, and Gabwa. His most trusted subordinates, Benimaru, Hikuro, Soe, Gobta, and Rigyur, stood at attention, while the enigmatic Diablo, the primordial black, observed with a subtle, knowing smile. The Beastketeers, Albus, Sufia, and Phobio, were also present, their demeanor reflecting the gravity of the situation. The weight of Clayman's schemes and Falmouth's invasion loomed over the gathering. Rimuru's voice, steady yet authoritative, broke the silence. First, I'd like to thank everyone for their hard work. Falmouth's invasion was an act of aggression we couldn't ignore. I made sure they paid the price. But now, we need to focus on a bigger threat, Clayman. Sufia clenched her fists, her voice filled with fury. Clayman's behind everything, the destruction of Eurazania, the manipulation of Lady Milam, and now his moves against you, Lord Rimuru. He must pay for his treachery. Benimaru nodded in agreement. His goal is clear, to become a true demon lord. By spreading chaos and death, he seeks to awaken himself. But it seems he underestimated you. Diablo chuckled softly, his crimson eyes glinting. Clayman's ineptitude is almost amusing, but his schemes still pose a threat. Walpurgis is inevitable now. The demon lords will convene, and he'll likely attempt to rally them against you, my lord. Shuna, calm and observant, spoke next. It's unforgivable how Clayman used Mayoran as his pawn. To manipulate and discard lives so ruthlessly. Mayoran, seated beside Soka, bowed her head, guilt etched across her face. I allowed myself to be his puppet for far too long. But thanks to Lord Rimuru, I've been freed. I'll do whatever it takes to make amends. Rimuru smiled warmly. You've already started on that path, Mayoran. Clayman's control over you was vile, but you're no longer his tool. You're one of us now. Soka placed a comforting hand on Mayoran's shoulder. We're all here for you. You're part of Tempest. Sufia hesitated before asking, Lord Rimuru, is it true? Is Lord Carrion alive? Rimuru leaned forward, his expression serious. Yes. Lord Carrion is alive and safe in Fry's domain. It's part of a plan to expose Clayman's schemes and protect him until the time is right. Albus gasped, relief washing over her. Thank the heavens. But why would Frey help him? Rimuru smirked. Frey isn't loyal to Clayman. She understands the importance of unity against greater threats. Besides, he glanced at his fiancées. She's also someone I trust deeply. The tension in the room eased slightly as Rimuru's words brought clarity and reassurance. Just as he prepared to dismiss the meeting, an informant entered the room, bowing deeply. Lord Rimuru. A contingent of Pegasus Knights is approaching from the west. They number around 100, led by King Gazel of Dworgen. Rimuru's expression brightened. It's always good to see King Gazel. Let's go welcome him. Stepping outside, the group was greeted by the majestic sight of flying Pegasi, their riders clad in shimmering Dworgen armor. At the forefront was King Gazel Dworgo, his presence as imposing as ever. Gazel dismounted, striding toward Rimuru with a firm smile. Rimuru. How did the Falmouth invasion fare? Rimuru smiled confidently. It's been dealt with. Their forces have been dismantled, and their schemes crushed. Gazel nodded approvingly. As expected. Falmouth's greed was their undoing. As they conversed, Rimuru's sharp senses detected movement. He turned toward a cluster of bushes. You there, behind the bushes. Come out. I already know you're there. 3 figures emerged hesitantly. The leader, a tall elf with striking silver hair and a noble bearing, stepped forward and bowed. Gazel raised an eyebrow. An elf noble. This is rare company, even for you, Rimuru. The elf straightened, his tone measured yet tense. I am Errol Sylvester, a former noble of the Elven Kingdom. You must be Rimuru Tempest, the demon lord who seduced my daughter. Rimuru blinked in surprise as Errol began casting a powerful nuclear spell. Before Rimuru's subordinates could act, he raised a hand, stopping them. Do you think you can march into Tempest and attack me? Rimuru said calmly. With a snap of his fingers, Errol's spell dissipated instantly. Errol's eyes widened in shock. What? What just happened? I deactivated your spell, Rimuru replied. Now, care to explain yourself? Before Errol could respond, a familiar voice rang out. Father, you idiot. Eren stormed forward, smacking Errol on the head. Are you crazy? You're embarrassing me in front of everyone. Especially Rimuru. Harold looked sheepish. I just wanted to protect my little, adorable daughter. Haren's face turned crimson. Overprotective father, Rimuru and Gazel muttered in unison, earning a chuckle from those nearby. Rimuru turned serious again. You're not just here for Haren, are you? Harold straightened. No. There's a greater matter at hand. Harold took a deep breath, regaining his composure. I am here on behalf of the remnants of the Elven Kingdom. For centuries, our lands have been in decline, plagued by internal conflicts and external pressures. Recently, reports of strange movements, likely orchestrated by Clayman, have reached us. Our people are at risk, and I need your help, Lord Rimuru. Rimuru crossed his arms, intrigued. Strange movements. Elaborate. Harold nodded. Clayman's forces have been infiltrating the Elven territories under the guise of trade. They're spreading chaos, manipulating factions to pit them against one another. He intends to exploit the resulting unrest to fuel his awakening as a true demon lord. Diablo's ever-present smile widened slightly, his voice like velvet. How delightfully predictable of Clayman. Chaos is his only currency. Rimuru narrowed his eyes. And you've come to Tempest because you believe I can counter Clayman. Harold hesitated for a moment before nodding. You've proven yourself as a protector, not just of your own people but of allies and innocents. The elves, we are fractured. If Clayman succeeds, my people won't stand a chance. Rimuru's gaze softened. So, this isn't just about protecting Haren. Harold looked away, his face slightly flushed. Well, she's part of it, but yes, my people need help. I've also heard of the alliance you've forged across nations. If the elves could join forces with Tempest, it might just give us the unity we've lacked for so long. Rimuru glanced at Haren, who stood to the side, clearly mortified by her father's dramatic entrance. What do you think, Haren? Haren crossed her arms, glaring at her father before turning to Rimuru. The elves could use Tempest's help. And, despite how ridiculous my father can be, he's a good man. I think we should hear him out. Rimuru nodded thoughtfully. Very well, Harold. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll discuss the details at a meeting 3 hours from now. For now, rest and familiarize yourself with Tempest. Harold bowed deeply. Thank you, Lord Rimuru. I will not forget this kindness. As the group dispersed, Rimuru turned to King Gazel, who had been silently observing. Looks like things are getting more complicated. Gazel smirked. Complications are your specialty, Rimuru. But that's what makes you an ally worth having. I'll stay for the meeting. There's much we need to discuss. Rimuru nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. I wouldn't have it any other way. Outside meeting grounds. 3 hours later. The crowd had gathered in the open-air meeting grounds outside Tempest's palace. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Present were Rimuru, his fiancés, subordinates, King Gazel, Harold Sylvester, Haren and her friends, and the key representatives of Tempest. The group formed a semicircle around Rimuru, who stood at the center with a calm yet commanding demeanor. Rimuru stepped forward, his voice confident yet approachable. All right, everyone, let's begin the meeting. Rain, if you would do the introductions. Rain, wearing her usual calm and stoic expression, gracefully stepped forward. She bowed slightly to Rimuru before addressing the group. As commanded by Rimuru-sama, I will introduce everyone present. She began pointing out each individual. First, Rimuru Tempest, the king and founder of the Jura Tempest Federation. Rimuru gave a small wave, smiling. No need to be so formal, Rain. They all know me. Rain ignored the comment, continuing with professional precision. Next, King Gazel Dwargo, ruler of the armed nation of Dwargan. Gazel nodded firmly, his presence exuding authority. Harold Sylvester, a former noble of the Elven Kingdom. Harold stood stiffly but offered a respectful nod. Rain gestured to the group of women standing near Rimuru. The fiancés of Rimuru-sama, Shizu, Soka, Kagali, Mayoran, Shion, Shuna, Goblina, Gabwa, and myself, Rain. She paused for emphasis. Primordial demon blue. This revelation caused a ripple of shock to spread through the group, though Rain remained unfazed and continued. Rimuru-sama's most trusted subordinates, Benamaru, Hekuro, Soe, Hana, Gobta, known fondly as Goat, and Rigyur, the Goblin King. Gobta gave an exaggerated bow, grinning. That's me. The Great Goat. Always at your service. Rain didn't acknowledge the interruption and moved on. Rimuru-sama's allies and friends, Haren and her team. The group of adventurers nodded, trying to maintain their composure. Rain turned to Diablo, who stood behind Rimuru, his aura both elegant and menacing. Finally, Diablo, Rimuru-sama's butler and one of the 7 primordial demons, Black Noir. The silence that followed was deafening. Rain's formal tone concluded. That is everyone here. The introductions are complete. The crowd was visibly stunned. Gazel's typically composed demeanor faltered as he processed the presence of 2 primordial demons. Even Harold, who prided himself on his composure, appeared shaken. King Gazel finally broke the silence, muttering under his breath, 2 primordial demons. Serving the same future demon lord. Harold, clutching his forehead, groaned. You have Black as a butler and Blue as a fiancé. What next, Rimuru? The storm dragon Veldora bursting into this meeting. Or maybe another demon lord arriving unannounced. Rimuru grinned, scratching the back of his head. Well, you're not too far off, actually. Harold froze, staring at Rimuru in disbelief. Wait, you're serious, aren't you? Before Rimuru could respond, a loud thud interrupted the moment. Everyone turned to see Fuse, one of Aren's companions, sprawled on the ground, unconscious from sheer shock. Diablo's crimson eyes gleamed with amusement as he stepped closer. It seems our presence has overwhelmed your guest. Should I wake him, my lord? Rimuru waved a hand dismissively. Nah, he'll come around. Let's just give him a moment. A few minutes later, Fuse groaned, slowly sitting up with the help of his companions. He blinked at Rimuru, still dazed. Did I hear that right? 2 primordial demons, in Tempest. Rimuru crouched to his level, grinning. Yup. Welcome to Tempest. We're full of surprises. Fuse groaned again, muttering, this place is insane. King Gazel crossed his arms, his tone half-joking. And yet, I somehow expected no less from Rimuru. Rimuru straightened and clapped his hands. Alright, now that we're all awake and aware, let's continue with the meeting. As the discussion resumed, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from behind. All heads turned to see a tall, muscular man with blonde hair and sharp golden eyes stride confidently into the meeting area. His presence radiated immense power, yet there was an air of carefree mischief about him. The man walked straight to Rimuru, throwing an arm over his shoulder as if they were lifelong friends. Yo, Rimuru. What's up? I've been dying of boredom in there. Got anything fun happening here? Rimuru sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Veldora, dude, can you not just barge into important meetings? Seriously, Fuse here literally just predicted your arrival. Veldora smirked, clearly unbothered. Well, he's got great timing then. I couldn't keep waiting around while you're out here having all the fun. The group stared at the newcomer in confusion and awe. Fuse, still reeling from earlier shocks, spoke up hesitantly. Rimuru, is this your friend or something? Rimuru tilted his head, considering. Well, Fuse, my dude, I guess you could call him a friend. Or better yet. Rimuru paused dramatically, grinning. Remember how you joked earlier about Veldora bursting in? Well, here he is, the storm dragon Veldora Tempest. My best friend and. Before Rimuru could finish, Veldora cut him off, puffing out his chest. I am the mighty storm dragon Veldora Tempest. The older brother of Rimuru Tempest. You should all feel honored to meet me. The declaration caused an uproar. Fuse, who was already struggling to process the primordial demons, promptly collapsed unconscious again. Harold's elven companions followed suit, their delicate sensibilities unable to handle the shock. Harold stepped forward, his voice trembling. Wait, Veldora. You mean the Veldora storm dragon? The one sealed for centuries. The same Veldora who terrorized the great Jura forest. Rimuru nodded casually, as if this were everyday news. Yup. That's him. King Gazel's sharp gaze narrowed, his tone thoughtful. I already had my suspicions. Given the immense power you radiate and your ability to command the respect of such beings, it was only a matter of time before others to realize you're a true dragon. At Gazel's words, Harold and the conscious adventurers gasped in unison. They turned to Rimuru, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. A true dragon. Rimuru gave them a playful smirk. Yup. In fact, I'm the strongest one out there. In his mind, his informant skill chimed in with amusement. Master, you truly enjoy showing off, don't you? Rimuru's mental response was immediate. What can I say? It's part of the job descriptions. As the group tried to absorb this new information, Veldora crossed his arms, beaming with pride. Of course, Rimuru is the strongest. After all, he's my little brother. We're practically unstoppable together. Rimuru rolled his eyes, waving a hand dismissively. Alright, enough of the nonsense. Veldora, go sit down over there. Fine, fine, Veldora grumbled, walking over to a seat as if he owned the place. Before he sat, Rimuru tossed a manga his way. Here, read this. It's The Eminence in Shadow. You'll love it. Veldora caught the book, his eyes lighting up. Oh, this is going to be good. Thanks, Rimuru. The sight of the mighty storm dragon eagerly flipping through the pages of a manga left the group utterly dumbfounded. Rimuru turned back to the remaining conscious individuals. Alright, let's pause for a bit. We'll continue the meeting once those guys wake up. Gazel nodded, still processing everything. Fair enough. I could use a moment to rethink my life choices. The others murmured their agreement, many still glancing nervously at Veldora, who was now chuckling to himself over the manga. Minutes after the commotion caused by Veldora, Fuse and the two unconscious elves stirred awake. Their groans of confusion filled the air as they sat up, rubbing their heads. Rimuru clapped his hands, drawing everyone's attention. Alright, now that everyone's conscious again, let's get back to the meeting. Fuse blinked, still dazed. What happened? Did I faint? Rimuru smirked. Yup. Don't worry about it. Just a little surprise guest. Fuse glanced at Veldora, who was absorbed in his manga, and muttered, a surprise indeed. Rimuru turned to the group, his tone shifting to serious. Now, back to the important stuff. Let's talk about what's happening with Falmouth Kingdom. After their failed invasion, I've decided to install a new king. King Gazel raised an eyebrow, his tone intrigued. A new king. Interesting. And who might this person be? Before Rimuru could answer, the meeting was interrupted again by the sound of hurried footsteps. The door burst open, revealing Yume and Grucius, both looking angry and flustered. Boss! Yume shouted, his voice filled with confusion and frustration. What the hell is going on? Why is Mayoran suddenly your fiancé? Grucius, standing beside him, growled. Yeah, what's the meaning of this, Rimuru? You stole my woman. What's wrong with you? Rain and Diablo didn't hesitate. They stepped forward, their demon wings unfurling menacingly, and an oppressive aura filled the room. How dare you insult my master like that? Diablo's voice was smooth but laced with deadly intent. His crimson eyes glinted as he prepared to act. Rain's voice was cold, her gaze piercing. Be careful with your words, humans. One wrong move, and I might lose my restraint. The tension in the room skyrocketed, and even Veldora glanced up from his manga, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Rimuru sighed and raised a hand. Calm down, you two. They're just confused. No need to scare them. Diablo and Rain reluctantly stepped back, their wings folding as they returned to their places, though their gazes remained sharp. Rimuru turned to Yume and Grucius, speaking in a calm yet firm tone. Listen, I get why you're upset. But let me explain. Mayoran isn't just my fiancé for no reason. This is a political arrangement to ensure her protection and freedom from anyone who might try to exploit her again. And besides. He glanced at Mayoran, his expression softening. Mayoran truly loves me. Isn't that right? Mayoran stepped forward, her cheeks flushed but her voice steady. That's right. I love Lord Rimuru. He's the one who saved me from Clayman's control. And Grucius. She hesitated before continuing, her eyes meeting his. I appreciate everything you've done for me, but my heart belongs to him now. Grucius opened his mouth to argue but stopped, realizing the sincerity in her eyes. I see. He scratched the back of his head awkwardly. Well, damn. I guess I can't compete with a demon lord, huh? Yume groaned. Seriously, though, boss. You could have given me a heads up. Rimuru chuckled. Yeah, my bad. But hey, no hard feelings, right? Let's just move on. Yume and Grucius exchanged glances before sighing in defeat. Fine, fine, Yume muttered. We'll let it go. Rimuru smiled, clapping Yume on the shoulder. Good. Now that that's settled, let's get back to business. Yume, I was just about to tell everyone here who the new king of Falmouth will be. Yume blinked in confusion. Wait, the new king. What's that got to do with me? Rimuru grinned. Everything. You're going to be the king. What? Yume and Grucius shouted in unison. Rimuru raised a hand to calm them. Relax. It makes perfect sense. Falmouth needs a strong, fair leader who can guide the kingdom into a new era. You're a hero to the people already, and with Tempest backing you, you'll have the support and resources to make it happen. Yume hesitated. But, I'm just a mercenary. I'm no king. Rimuru shrugged. You've got the heart of a leader, Yume. That's what matters. Besides, you won't be alone. Grucius will help you, and I'll make sure you have the right advisors. Grucius crossed his arms, considering the proposal. Well, if it's for Myoran's sake, I'll help him. But you better not let me down, Yume. Yume scratched his head, still processing everything. Alright, boss. If you really think I'm the right guy for the job, I'll do it. But don't blame me if I screw up. Rimuru laughed. You'll do fine. I've got faith in you. With the matter settled, Rimuru gestured for Yume and Grucius to take seats at the table. Alright, everyone. Now that we've sorted all that out, let's move on to the next topic.